Good morning, reflectors.
Good morning.
That's right, it's Reflection Thursday because this is our last day of our 2 months of codependency and our book study of Too Much by Terry Cole. So we're reflecting on the whole thing. Are you ready, Annette?
I am. 2 months is a long time for one subject.
It is, but it was a deep subject with so much to it.
I think before we start our reflection, I would like to just acknowledge Terry Cole and all of her work with high-functioning codependency. She is the one who has given words so that we could understand high-functioning codependency. Before Terry Cole, it was just codependency. So we have under-functioning codependency, high-functioning codependency, all of her boundary terminology that helps us to understand what boundaries are, how to set boundaries, what boundary destroying behavior looks like. I am so grateful to Terry Cole. I know I pointed out some things during the last 2 months, like, I don't agree with this. But for the most part, I agree with everything she wrote. And whether I agree with everything or not, I am so thankful that she has taken her, I think, over 2 decades of working with her own clients to put it down on paper. Many people have a lot of wisdom that they never put down for us to know. And she took the time and the effort to help us to understand high-functioning codependency. She took the time to help us to understand the ins and outs of boundaries. So I personally just want to thank Terry Cole for this book. She also has another book, and its title is Boundary Boss. She is very active on Instagram. She has classes that Ada and I have taken. She's just wonderful. And so I want to just start our reflection out with that acknowledgement of how much the two of us appreciate Terry Cole.
Yes, big thank yous to her, and also big thank yous to all of you who joined us for these 2 months.
It's a long journey, 2 months, and we had a lot of folks just stick with us the whole time.
So thank you, and we hope you join us next month. We already have it prepared, but that's for tomorrow. Today, we're reflecting. Annette, would you like to go first with your biggest takeaway of the last 2 months?
My biggest takeaway for the last 2 months is the reminder once again that high-functioning codependency is a trauma response.
That's my biggest takeaway too.
And it's not a character flaw. It's not blaming others. There is the truth, though, that it is a trauma response. One thing that is important for us to know, especially if you identify as a high-functioning codependent, understanding that it's a trauma response, you may fall back into high-functioning codependency at certain times in your life. If you go through very stressful times, Terry Cole, in her book, We Didn't Call It Out, she talks about falling back into codependency when her mom was diagnosed with cancer. When you are in a very stressful situation for a prolonged period of time, you may find that you're falling back into high-functioning codependency. That's where the self-care is so important. That's where asking for support and help is so important. Don't have to do this alone, because those are the times when that trauma response can show itself. We don't want to shame ourselves if that is something that occurs, but we also do want to acknowledge high-functioning codependency is a trauma response. It is compulsive. And if your emotional capacity is low and you don't have that self-awareness of what's going on, you may find yourself back into high-functioning codependency. So listening to trusted folks who love you, they might say, you're showing up in a way that you haven't in a while. What's going on? Or you're showing up in a way that you haven't for a while. I know what's going on. Please take care of yourself. So even if you love someone who's high-functioning codependent and you see them falling back into these old patterns, remember, it's a trauma response. They're not trying to do it. And you can be there to help them by listening, helping out, asking what they may be needing, supporting them. How about you, Ada? What is your biggest takeaway or a few of your takeaways since you're not a high functioning codependent?
The biggest takeaway was the same as yours, that high functioning codependency is a trauma response. I have thought about that in the past, pondering it in my own mind, toying around with it, thinking about all the different people I know who are high functioning codependents, whether they've told me they are or not. I can pick up on the signs. And then I would think about, well, where did this come from? Why did they choose? I only have the word choose at the moment to respond to situations in this manner. I started thinking about them and their lives, and there was a lot of trauma in them. And I kind of came to that conclusion, well, this is like a trauma response, and they're trying to manage future traumas. And I was toying around with all of that. And then to see it in the book that this is a trauma response, it gave me a lot of confirmation like, okay, yes, what I was thinking was right. And then from there, it helps me have a much greater sense of compassion. This isn't something people are choosing to do. This isn't, I don't know, like you're saying, a personality trait. It's people dealing with their traumas. And this is the best way that they've found through happenstance or just because they were in the middle of a traumatic situation or traumatic situations and trying to get through them. That's where they're coming from. It's not anything more than that. So to have that sense of compassion, to be able to respond rather than react, even if it's like, oh my gosh, why are you doing this now? Oh, okay, hold on, Ada. This is the trauma talking. This is the trauma acting. It's not them, it's their trauma. Show up in a way that is gentle and helps them know that they don't have to respond or react to this situation from a trauma space. We can stop, we can pause, we don't need to do this, we can do something different. If this really feels like something they don't want to do, like we can do something different. We don't have to act from the place of trauma, or if the situation triggers this, we can do something else. Most things in life aren't that important. And yes, things are important, but they're not so important that we have to make people go through their traumas or use trauma responses. We can find another way.
It's also important, as we're saying goodbye to this topic for now, to know that healing is possible.
Yes, it is.
Even though you might fall back into it for the most part, you can heal this through awareness and, oh, here I go. I feel it inside. Now I need to do some self-care. I need to reach out for help. Everything that we've learned through the last 2 months, we can have a lovely life as a recovering high-functioning codependent. Terry Cole herself calls herself a recovering high-functioning codependent. We can contribute to people's lives. We can show up for others from a place that's healthy and not codependent. Healing is completely possible. When we get to the other side, where we are coming from the more healed space, life is very, I want to say textured. That's what comes to mind, because we can see trauma in others in a way that maybe others can't see. If you're living with something like high functioning codependency, it is that trauma that you're very aware of, and you can spot other people's traumas. You may not know exactly what led to their trauma, or you may not know exactly how they behave with their trauma. But once you've experienced trauma yourself, you can see it in others. And on some level, we've all experienced trauma, but then on another level, there's the traumas that really can take over your life, like high functioning codependency can take over your life. But once you learn about it, understand, start showing up differently, then you will see life and you will see others from a beautiful space, because you will know that, yes, there is trauma, but yes, there is also healing. And a healed healer and a healed partner is a very thoughtful partner, a kind partner, and a loving partner. Because when you go through that healing process, you got to look at a lot of things. It makes you a deeper person. It makes you a more thoughtful person. So I think maybe ending this 2-month period by saying thank you again to whoever has been with us. And I know there have been a lot of you that have been with us during the last 2 months. It takes a lot of courage to do what you've done. And it takes a lot of courage and strength to do what you will continue to do as you continue on your healing journey and move forward on that path of becoming the best version of yourself.
So our intention for today, and this is a good one, listen in, I will celebrate my courage. I will celebrate my courage. Thank you so much for joining us today and for these 2 months. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.